Breaking news coming in, and this is in regard to China and India. That this is what is being said by China, that China and India should jointly safeguard peace and tranquility in their border areas after the recent positive and constructive round of border talks between them. This is, the Chinese military. They're saying this is, after that 10-point consensus that has reached. Of course, this also does include, the resumption of direct flights that was reached upon a decision that came about just last week, and a step up as far as the trade and investment flows are concerned. And, we have Vishnu joining us in order to get us the latest. Vishnu, coming about just in time before Prime Minister Modi's visit. Take us through the details.
Going to see on Sunday when Prime Minister Modi meets President Xi is the beginning of a process which might actually redefine the relationship between Beijing and New Delhi. Remember, after the Galwan crisis of 2019, this is the first visit of an Indian Prime Minister to China. It comes on the back of a very important meeting between the National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, who's also India's special representative in talks with China on the boundary question, and Wang Yi, the Chinese foreign minister, who was recently over here. Both sides have agreed on a series of mechanisms and a series of steps, but have ultimately decided that they need the concurrence of their political leadership to actually work towards a resolution of the boundary issue. The boundary issue between India and China is at the heart of the dispute and has been for decades. Therefore, if there is a substantive movement towards an early resolution of this, in other words, delimiting the boundary, figuring out where it lies in, let's say, Arunachal Pradesh, in Ladakh and in other areas, then the core differences between both sides would be solved. Therefore, if you have this a Chinese defense spokesperson talking about an early harvest and boundary delimitation, in fact, similar words were used in the press statement issued by New Delhi after Wang Yi's visit.
Right, Vishnu, stay with us for our next breaking news coming in as well. Let's get you breaking news, and this is in regard to the ties between India and Canada. Now, this is after we saw that move that came about 10 months ago of expelling the ambassadors. Now, a move is being made in order to appoint new ambassadors when it comes to India and Canada. And Vishnu back with us to get us details. Vishnu, we are seeing some sort of improvement here after that, snapping of ties, so to speak, 10 months ago of expelling the ambassadors of India and Canada.
It's a big news because it does indicate that India wants to move towards normalcy in the relationship between Ottawa and New Delhi. I remember India's High Commissioner was expelled from Ottawa, and there was a tit-for-tat reaction over here. What came first, nobody is entirely certain about. But this is after Canada's former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau made allegations, very strong ones, at press conferences about an alleged Indian hand in the elimination of certain people, in Canada. This is linked, of course, to at one level to India's concerns about Canada's the existence of support for the Khalistani cause in Canada. It remains a huge issue in the relationship. But we have seen the Prime Minister travel recently to Canada for the G7 summit. We've seen a beginning of a reset in that relationship. And the fact that you've now got the High Commissioners of both sides, not just India going to Ottawa, but the Canadian High Commissioner, a new Canadian High Commissioner coming over here, indicates that the relationship will be at a better, more even keel. Presumably, both the missions will come back to their usual strength because that was also brought down. But this was the biggest story several months back on how the deterioration of ties between India and Canada had taken place following Canada's allegations. Since then, we've not really heard very much more of these allegations. But the fact that India is appointing a new High Commissioner to Canada clearly indicates that the relationship between two basic democracies will be back, if not to normal, then on a path towards normalcy.